Hello and welcome to week 5. Week 5 is a pretty important week in the sense that we are transitioning into our first project. Today's exercise, which is going to be like last week in terms of being one large exercise, is called Timeline. It's going to set up kind of the transition into how you should think about your project 1. We're going to be working with scenes, we're going to be working with the movie clip again, and it's hopefully going to sort of set the scene for using these elements, these concepts for your first project. Which I'll talk about and talk about the examples that I'm going to post here in a little bit. So let's head into this. As I mentioned last week, the premise behind this timeline exercise is using our movie clip exercise from last week. So your first step is to open week 4's movieclip.fla, and what we're going to be doing with this is doing a few things. One, create a background for it to sort of create atmosphere or a setting or whatever you want to call it. We're going to be creating another scene for it. And we are also going to be using alpha and the path, altering the path of the motion tween. Again, all of this is hopefully setting up the potentials for you guys to create your first project 1. So let's head into this. First and foremost, creating a background for the movie clip. It says insert a new symbol, so we're going to insert a new symbol. And we're going to name this background. We're going to make sure this is just a graphic. This isn't going to do much other than sort of be static. I'm going to hit OK. And then it says choose the rectangle tool. That's this tool right here. And it says click on the stroke and stroke color box and choose the white box with a red stripe through it. So we don't want any stroke. That's actually already there. If you don't have it there, you can find it right there. And then it says on the color box or the fill color, let's choose a green. This is going to be sort of a grassy knoll. And we're going to click and hold the click and hold and draw a rectangle in order to sort of create this thing. I'm going to click hold. Now, as a lot of exercises do, what I want to do is sort of introduce another simple topic, and this is using the info panel. First and foremost, I'm going to use the black selection tool, and I'm going to click on this. This is a vector graphic that we can sort of see with the little dots. We've discussed that in relation to that bird that we dealt with last week. And then it says in the info panel, which is on window info, I'm going to go to window info. That pops up here. I'll put it here so we can see it. It says with this free transform tool, make sure the green rectangle, so it's at least size it so it's at least 575 pixels wide. I just want to sort of show you what this is. I'm clicking on this free transform tool, and over here in the info window I can sort of see height and width. I know that my movie I think is 575 wide, so I'm going to crank this down and you'll see right there the height and the width change. I left it there at 588. That'll sort of go across the width of that scene pretty well. Now it says, so I'm going to close that. Next it says using a combination of the selection tool and eraser tool, erase portions of the top to create a simple horizon. Okay, what this means is that we can sort of use simple tools that are, those of you who have worked with anything like Photoshop or Illustrator or any drawing program, that can sort of draw on this on this rectangle. Remember, this doesn't have a blue bounding box, so it's not sort of a confined symbol. It has these, so these sort of dots that indicate it's sort of a simple vector graphic. So what I'm going to do is come in here and I'm going to simply erase, making some rolling hills. Okay, and then I'm going to simply click on the black with the black selection tool and hit delete on my keyboard. Okay, not the most glorious rolling hills, but rolling hills nonetheless. Okay. Then it says choose the paintbrush tool as well as a paintbrush size and a brown color and draw a simple tree. Okay, so we're doing a very, very simple background here. And again, I'm not gonna go horribly in depth in terms of drawing this thing. I'm simply going to get something down here. Let's imagine it's winter, fall, whatever. Okay. Then says click on the oval tool and draw a yellow sun in the sky. So I'm just sort of introducing different sort of concepts here. I'm going to hold down Shift to make that sun perfectly circular. Okay, so I have a simple scene here. Okay, or it's not a scene, sorry, I have a simple background here. Okay, then it says on step 12, click on scene 1 in the top left, so we're going back here. Okay, and insert a new layer, and we'll call it background. Okay. All right. I'm going to pull this layer down so it's below the other layers. Okay, I want it on the bottom. Then it says make sure you're on the first frame of the background layer and take the graphic from the library called background and drop it down on the stage. What we're going to have to do also, as it says, is position it. You'll see that it sort of, when I inserted that layer, it sort of created a blank keyframe there at the beginning and made it so that keyframe was, or that frame went all the way out to the sort of last frame of this scene. Remember, our scene went out to approximately 150, so that background should take up that 150. I'm going to grab my background now, and I'm going to make sure, I'm going to double check there, that I am where I want to be. Okay, so I'm going to position that. And you'll see now that that sort of takes up that entire time and space. Okay, so this is a simple sort of use of a background. I'm just going to test this real quick. Static version of this thing. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is creating a new scene. So you'll see I have this exercise broken up into these 3 parts. The idea behind inserting a new scene is strictly based on organization. And this is something to talk about more so, or just as much as sort of the doing part of it. The idea being, and I'm going to just click here, you'll see when I click here on my little scene symbol, I only have one scene right now. In terms of organization and in terms of how you organize your movies, you never want to have tons and tons of information, anything too complex in terms of length of time on one scene. The idea is to break these things up so that we can sort of deal with them in a sort of separate entity. The idea behind the scene is almost like going to a new little file within that same file. So I have one scene here, this is scene 1, and we're going to sort of go to a scene 2. These scenes, depending on how you organize them, they can always be moved around by going to Window Scene, and you'll see you get this little window. When we have more than one scene, you can simply just sort of click, hold, and drag and move them around if you decide that the scene you make is going to be needs to go first instead of last, whatever. They can always be moved around, but I highly, highly suggest that just like layers, you break up, and I'm talking about your project ones, that you break up your sort of movies into different scenes. It's like a movie. Okay, a movie has different scenes. They get shot at different times, different settings, different sort of situations. Okay, consider that the scenario that you're going to deal with in terms of project 1. Okay, so I am going to first of all insert a new scene. Insert a new scene. You'll see that we go to a new place that's blank and has no layers and just has a simple keyframe. When I click on this, you'll see that I have scene 1 and now I have scene 2. Okay, it says choose insert a new symbol. Okay, let's call it water background. It's going to be a graphic. Okay, And it says choose the rectangular tool, click on the stroke color, no stroke color, and we're going to use a blue. We're making the sort of water version of what we did the regular background. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to use the info panel to sort of size this. It's at 593. I'll just make it slightly smaller. Okay. And then it says using a combination of the selection tool and eraser, erasing portions of the top to create a simple horizon. In this case, we're just simply sort of creating a wavy background. Okay, so I'm going to choose my eraser. I'm going to come in, whatever, and we're going to create a simple sun. All right. Now it says choose scene 2 on the left. Now I have scene 2, and insert a new layer and call it water background. Whoops, insert layer. See how I'm constantly organizing, keeping organized, so that different symbols don't end up on layers that don't sort of identify exactly what's going on there. Okay. I'm going to make sure make sure I'm in the first frame of that background layer. I'm going to pull this down actually, and I'm going to take the graphic from the library and drop it down onto the stage. And I'm going to move this around. All right. Now it says insert a frame on the layer water background at frame 160. We're basically going to be creating a new scene and sort of setting ourselves up for dealing with the sort of last part of this exercise, which is bringing the birds into this scene. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording right here and do a part 2 of this. That's going to sort of finish up using what is sort of steps 31 on, using the alpha with a movie clip and then altering the path of the motion tween. I have a minute or two here left that I can use, and I can't stress enough the sort of organizational aspect of this entire exercise. The idea being that you keep things on layers. Here we have on scene 1, which we did last week, we have different birds sort of doing different things. We decide we're going to switch to scene 2, and we need to sort of create a new scene that's going to have its own layers. You guys are making a very, very short movie for your first project, but the organization is going to be key for when you sort of move into the larger projects. Setting up good habits in terms of this organization is going to make your life easier when you go to animate, when you go to make changes, when you go to insert new symbols, all these things. So keeping organized is sort of what this timeline exercise is about. So again, I'm going to stop this and we'll pick up in the next video with step 31.